This is a 30-minute practice today. And because it's a shorter practice than we normally do in these Tuesday classes, it is going to be focused on the core. And we don't do as many of the warm up and stretches that we typically do. So if that's something that you feel like is missing from your practice, there'll be some time towards the end as well, or there'll be some time for you to do after the practice if you'd like. And for as far as what we need for the practice itself, a couple of yoga blocks if you have them. If you don't, it's okay. You can do without it. If you do not have a yoga block, we will be doing a version of a supported bridge. So you could use a folded up blanket, or a foam roller works well for that. We will also need a strap for the practice. And I'm going to be using a blanket here and my two blocks in the beginning position to release tension in the muscles that run between the neck and shoulders, which often tighten up when we're doing core exercises. And it's your body's way of trying to make yourself stronger by using muscles that really aren't part of the core. And so it takes away from the core strengthening and it builds tension in our neck and shoulders. So I like to show people how to release that tension. So we're starting in that relaxation position for the muscles of the shoulders, the neck, the upper trapezius muscles. I'm going to be using my two yoga blocks, and they'll be on the floor overhead there, and they're sort of like forming a roof over my head. And you might be able to get by with just that. Sometimes having a little more elevation allows those muscles to relax a little bit better. So I'm going to take my blanket roll and roll it into that long, skinny roll. That I've just formed on the floor is what my arms are going to rest on. So my head is underneath as if that were the roof of the house, my head resting underneath it on the flat surface of the floor. And the arms come overhead in this sort of diamond shaped position. So elbows bent out to the sides, hands maybe touching or just towards each other. Legs in whatever position feels comfortable to you. And it might be that you're too far away and you're sort of reaching more through the arms. Maybe you get a little closer, maybe you're too bunched up. If your chest muscles are really tight, you might need more elevation under your elbows to relax here. And how you know you're doing this correctly is that you're not feeling the tension that we often do in the muscles that run between neck and shoulders. And begin to breathe here in and out through the nose. And start to slow your breathing down. And the difference between a yoga class focused on the core and a Pilates class has to do with the breath and your intention. So in yoga, we breathe in and out through the nose, so different than Pilates where you breathe out through the mouth. And often in Pilates, there's a quicker breath. In yoga, we keep this lengthened inhale and exhale. And the movements that we do are coordinated with the breath. And they're specifically coordinated with either the inhale or the exhale based on the anatomy of your breathing muscles and the abdominal muscles. When those muscles are contracting, when they're relaxing. So they're using the abdominals to support the breath and the breathing muscles to support the core. So take the next few breaths, setting an intention for your practice. And if you've come to class with an intention today, go ahead and set that thought firmly in your mind here. And if you'd like to be receptive or open to an intention, then perhaps you think about steadiness, stability, So we'll be physically practicing that steadiness and stability by working the core. But having a strong core helps with other things, helps with balance, helps with posture, helps with your breathing, helps your back, your spine. Being steadiness has to do with endurance and stamina, physically, emotionally, psychologically. Take the next few breaths and bring one of those words to the front of your mind: steadiness, strength, stability, whatever makes the most sense to you. Bring that word to the front of your mind and breathe with intention. So I'm going to leave these props here over my head, but bring the arms down by the sides. We're going to go ahead and start with strengthening the innermost layer of abdominal muscles. And these ones wrap horizontally around your waist. And they're mostly just here to stabilize the spine and the pelvis. So before we even start moving, think about pressing the back ribs into the floor. It's not a pelvic tilt. We're not lifting the tailbone up, just pressing the back ribs into the floor, and you'll feel those waist muscles engage. Keeping that, lift your feet up, knees bent, and we're going to start lowering one foot at a time, but keep your back ribs pressed down. So you're inhaling to lower one foot, tap it, exhale to pull it back up. Inhale, lower the other foot, tap it. Exhale to pull it back up. And alternating legs here. So you want to make sure you keep your back ribs pressed down into the floor. Keep going. And then notice, did your neck muscles tighten up here in your attempt to keep the core, the spine, the hips stable? If they did, try bringing your arms back overhead in that position that relaxes the muscles between the neck and shoulders. So for me, it doesn't completely release that tension in the neck, but it lowers it by at least 50%. So I'm going to keep my arms in that overhead position. If you'd like more challenge, tap the foot further out away from you, or even stretch that whole leg out, lengthening the leg out, maybe closer to the floor is going to be more challenging. So you're breathing, keeping the back ribs pressed into the floor. One more in each leg. All right, lowering both feet down. You could bring your arms down and gently rock the legs side to side. And just moving those blocks and blanket out of the way for now. As I start to work a different layer of abdominal muscles here, the rectus abdominis. This is a really subtle movement for your six-pack abdominal muscles. It's a backward pelvic tilt, flattening the lower back into the floor, tipping the tailbone towards the ceiling without lifting the hips just yet, and then releasing that. So the back pulls away from the floor in a natural way, low back does. Exhale to flatten the lower back, tailbone tipping up. Inhale, release. And again, if you feel that tension in the neck, you could bring your arms overhead, that kind of diamond-shaped position, or even the sort of stargazer position where you have the hands under the back of your head. So just beginning to feel these muscles that run centrally from the rib cage down to the pubic bone. So your ribs are anchored and the muscle, the rectus abdominis, is pulling that pubic bone up. Relaxing here on the inhale. Now we start to warm up the spine and get some of the spinal muscles involved here with a flowing bridge. You could keep it at the pelvic tilt if that feels like a good space for you. So we start with the heels lined up with the sitting bones, tip the tailbone up, that's the pelvic tilt, and then we lift the hips, the lower back, the middle back, and the upper back up off the floor and reverse that. So you lower the upper back, middle back, press the lower back into the floor. So you're really working that rectus abdominis here, and then release the tailbone at the bottom. So tip the tailbone up. We inhale, roll up the spine to the top of the bridge, and then exhale, roll back down the spine. Let's do a few more here. So you're really trying to lift the spine up one vertebra at a time here, and then lower down one vertebra at a time. And that's going to use more control, or require more control from these abdominal muscles, specifically the rectus abdominis. And these muscles really important in the as you come to the end of the drive phase into the finish, and as you tip your pelvis forward, as you come to the front of the boat, moving into the catch, or starting to move from the finish into the catch, lowering back down here to the floor, gently rocking those knees side to side. So along with working the core, we warmed up the spine a little bit and some of the muscles that run parallel to the spine. And then bonus, we got our glute maximus going with that one too. So that was a full lift of bridge. Now we're doing half bridge here. This is one of my favorite core pelvic stabilization exercises because there's a lot of bang for your buck. There's a lot happening here, but with a very subtle movement. So half bridge for this instance means we're only lifting halfway up. So I'm going to lift my hips and lower back only. So I'm not lifting all the way up to the top of the bridge. I'm going to use my hands here on my front hips to monitor whether my hips stay level. I want to try to keep my hips from rocking side to side. So imagine you have a carpenter's level here. Keep that bubble in the middle. And we inhale, lift one heel up off the ground. Exhale, lower it down. Inhale, lift the other heel up off the ground. Exhale, lower it down. And you keep going, alternating, just partially unweighting one foot and then the other, with the work being in trying to keep your hips level. So you might begin to feel that innermost abdominal muscle. That's what's really keeping your hips level, plus your glute maximus. If you want more challenge, lift the whole foot instead of just the heel. And to me, this is quite a bit more challenge. And sometimes I have to kind of use my elbows here to help my core a little bit. Keep breathing, right? So we are demanding a lot of work of our muscles. If we hold the breath, we don't deliver oxygen to the muscles, and they're going to fatigue even quicker. This is a common one I give to my clients who need that pelvic stabilization, have a lot of sacroiliac joint issues. All right, both feet down, lower the hips and back. You can pull the knees in here, just gently hugging in, maybe rocking a little side to side. All right. And then from here, we'll lower the feet back down. Now I'm going to use my yoga block, but if you don't have one, I want you to pretend you have one. If you have a heavy yoga block, like a wooden one or a cork one, please don't use it, because we're going to be holding this block on the sole of our foot. If you struggle with balancing the block there, people with high arches have trouble with this, then just pretend you have the block. So I'm going to put this block, that biggest surface side, on the sole of my foot, and I'm reaching that foot up towards the ceiling. My other knee is bent and the foot is flat. If you're tight in the hamstrings, then you're going to have that knee a little bit more bent. But you're trying to keep the sole of the foot flat. That's really not part of the exercise. It's just going to help us stay focused. So I'm bringing my hands behind the head, interlaced fingers, elbows out. And I'm lifting just my head and shoulders. And then I'm reaching my left shoulder, or my left elbow, towards that lifted foot. And I'm slowly lowering the shoulders and the head back down. So the breath is exhale. Peel that left shoulder blade up off the floor, reaching the elbow towards the foot. Inhale, lowering back down. Let's keep going. Exhale into that twist. Inhale to lower. And if you're getting bogged down with trying to balance that block and it keeps falling, take it off and just pretend you're balancing the block here. Breathing. So now we're starting to work the oblique abdominal muscles. These ones run diagonally. There's actually two layers of them that crisscross, kind of form an X here on your side waist, running from the back to the front and front to the back. All right, lower the head. You're going to bring that block down and find on the other foot. So this might be the, whoops, the block balancing on the foot might be the most challenging part for you. And if it's so challenging that you can't do the core part, take it off, right? Remember, you could have that knee a little bit more bent. Doesn't have to be a hamstring stretch. Other knee bent, foot flat, hands behind the head. Try not to pull with your arms. This is all abdominal work where we peel that right shoulder blade up off the floor, elbow towards the foot, and then we lower back down. So my hands are really just supporting my head so I don't strain through my neck. Exhale, lift that right shoulder blade, elbow towards the foot. Inhale. Lower the shoulder blade and the head. We'll do a few more here. And notice I'm going slow, right? I am going with my breath. And the slower I go, the more I use my muscular strength rather than momentum or gravity, right? So I could go fast and use momentum to kind of whip myself up, and I could use gravity to lower myself down. But I'm choosing to use muscular control here. And maybe I'm doing less repetitions than if I were doing it fast, but I'm actually strengthening and working on endurance of these muscles rather than kind of brute strength. All right, lower the head. You bring that block down, feet down, gently rock the knees side to side. So we kind of just worked all three layers of abdominal muscles here. We're going to roll over to our side, but the abdominals are not the only part of our core. The back is part of the core, the pelvic floor muscles, the diaphragm, the breathing muscles, breathing muscle here at the base of your lungs. I'm coming into a side plank, so I'm using a blanket here mostly to pad my knees. And I'm going to turn 90 degrees on my mat. So I have both my knees here on the blanket, and I'm facing the left side of my mat. I'm going to bring my left foot out to the side and then bring that right hand down to the floor. If the pressure on the right hand doesn't feel good, loose fist is a possibility, or forearm on the two blocks here. So pausing, we're already in side plank. We're already using oblique muscles here and these outer hip muscles, hip and shoulder stabilizing muscles already working. We're already working the core right here. You don't even have to do more than this. If you'd like a little bit more work, reach this top arm up and maybe reach it overhead. Bonus, you get a stretch to this left side body. A little more core and hip work would be to lift the back leg. Stay here and breathe. This is that balancing half moon. If you'd like even more work than this, we'll pull the top elbow and that top knee towards each other and then reach it back out. So the breath is exhale, elbow to knee, inhale, reach it back out. Do that a few more times. All right, lower the foot. You could walk those hands here to the front, hands and knees. Maybe do a few cat cows or wag of the tail or shake out of the wrist. And then we'll do this on the other side. You might turn around here. I'm still facing the left. I'm stepping my right foot out. The sole of the foot is down. I'm bringing my left hand to the other end of the mat. Right arm up. Pause. We're already in side plank. We're already working our obliques. If you want to stretch through the top obliques, side waist, you could reach this top arm overhead. Breathe here. You might choose to stay with this or lift that top leg up, stay here in this version of that baby half moon balancing, or elbow to knee. Exhale, pull them towards each other. Inhale, reach them away. Exhale, pull in. Inhale, reach away. Right? Stability, steadiness, strength. Right here in your forearm, your palm, your shoulder, your hip, your core, even the diaphragm here, and how you're controlling your breath. Reach it back out long, lower the foot, walk it forward, coming into hands and knees. I'm just going to turn here so you can see me from the side. Let's do a few cat-cows here. So we round through the back, tuck the chin, tuck the tailbone under, and then cow, lift the tailbone, pull the chest forward. Exhale, round through the back, push the floor away, belly button towards spine. Inhale, tailbone up, chest forward. Couple more here. Bringing it back in through center. You could stay here on your hands. If you're ready to take a little pressure off the wrist, come to your forearms instead. A little toe rocking movement. So bring one foot back, toes tucked under, shifting forward to bend through the toe joints, pressing back to stretch through the calf. Forward and backward here, just seeing how this feels. If you're tight, have some soreness, take it easy. Lower that knee, switch to the other side. Might be a few pops in the ankle or the toe here, the first few movements. Lowering that knee back down. So I'm setting us up into downward facing dog. If down dog is hard for you for whatever reason, shoulders, back, spine, tight hamstrings, you could stay with that toe rock there and get the benefit of the calf stretch, or hands forward or shoulders a bit, fingers spread, hips up and back. Take a moment here. Notice if you're tight in the backs of the legs so much so that the back rounds. Maybe you bend the knees a little bit so that you can reach the hips up and back. And then take a moment to pedal the feet. Shake the head. Lift and lower the heels. So I'm going to do what I call a crouching down dog. So bringing us back into this down dog position in a moment. If you'd like to watch on the first one and join in, feel free. So I'm rising up on my toes, lowering the knees almost to the floor, and then I'm shifting forward into a plank. So straight line from heels to top of the head. I go back into that crouch where the knees are hovering over the floor, and then lift the hips, lower the heels, down dog. So we inhale up on the toes, exhale, lower the knees towards the floor, almost there. Inhale, shoot to plank. Exhale, back into the crouch. Inhale, hips up. Exhale, lower the heels. Couple more. Up on the toes. Knees come down for the crouch. Shift forward, plank. Shift back to the crouch. Bring it up to down dog. One more. Up on the toes, to the crouch. Shift to plank, to the crouch, to the down dog. All right, lower both knees, untuck your toes. Find child's or puppy pose here. Child's pose, hips over heels, forehead resting. Puppy pose is hips over knees, forehead resting. So child's pose is more compressive position, which is fine for a lot of us, but hip, knee issues, spinal issues, where you're just more comfortable, puppy might be the place for you. Take a moment here, come back to that breath, that lengthened breath we started with. Back to your intention for the practice, stability, strength, stabilization, whatever the word that you are printing on the front of your mind here. You could stay here longer, or when you're ready, we're going to come up here to a belly down pose. So I'm unfolding my blanket here. So I have some padding under my pubic bone, under my hip bones, but not a big thick pad. So I want to start relatively flat, arms by my sides, palms face up, tailbone lengthening towards the foot of the mat. So you feel the pubic bone press into the floor, low belly muscles engaging. Inhale, lift the head, chest, lift the arms. They actively reach towards your feet, maybe lifting the legs too. And then we lower everything down. Inhale, lift, reach, neck long, gaze down and forward. Exhale, lower. I'm going to do a few more here. If you're feeling too much in the lower back, remember to keep that tailbone lengthening towards the feet. If that doesn't work, maybe take a rest. So now we're working the back of the body, right? So these muscles that run parallel to the spine, our glutes if we're lifting the legs, some of these shoulder blade muscles, even the ones that run from the base of the skull down to the bottom of the neck, important muscles in really every phase of the stroke. But as we come out of the catch, through the drive, all the way to the finish, especially in the finish and coming out of it, these muscles keeping that spine long without it rounding and arching. Lower down, hands forward, rest your head, bend the knees, rock the legs side to side here. A few breaths. Lowering the feet back down to the floor. Turning over to come onto your, or coming up to a sitting position, or coming into boat pose, which is another core strengthening, abdominal strengthening, but it's also a hip flexor working pose as well. So we're sitting here, knees bent, feet flat, hold on to the backs of the thighs. And what you want to keep in mind through this is you want to keep the chest lifted, the gaze up, shoulders relaxed, as opposed to the back rounding. So go ahead, start feet down, chest up, shoulders relaxed. You could say right here, this is already working the core, the hip flexors, even the back muscles too. Or start to shift your weight back. So you're kind of shifting your weight between the sitting bones and the tailbone. And maybe you play with lifting one foot, then the other. Maybe you feel like you can lift both. Staying here, relaxing, breathing. Maybe you let go, a little bit more challenge. Unclench your jaw. Maybe you play with straightening one leg and then the other. Maybe you can straighten both. Maybe you're like, oh, that's a bridge too far, Laura. Coming back. Make sure you haven't lost the breath. You're not rounding through the back. One more inhale. Exhale, hold the back of the thighs. Rock back here. Hugging the knees in, gently rocking side to side. All right, here's your reward for all that core work. This is a supported bridge. So taking the block, I'm going to use a block and I'm using my strap here. It could be a foam roller, folded up blanket, but slide that prop underneath your sacrum, so above the fleshy part of your butt, but below the lower back. And we are going to take that strap, put it under one foot, like where we had that block before, and bring that foot up towards the ceiling. And notice that I'm not straightening that leg all the way. I'm keeping it bent and pulling this towards me so that I feel a little stretch, mild stretch through the back of that thigh. And then relax your shoulders. The other leg, let it straighten out. So the heel's resting down, leg relatively straight. If you're tight in your hip flexors and quads, that knee might be a little bit bent. Relax the shoulders, the neck, the jaw. We're going to stay here for a few breaths. You could stay right like this, or use the strap here and kind of wag this lifted leg side to side. You don't have to go very far. Don't go so that you like roll off the prop here. Gently, slowly, kind of just changing the angle here and see where that changes, where you feel stretch or openness on the down leg. So as I bring this leg out to the side, I start to feel a little bit more hip flexor stretch here, the top of my thigh, even into my abdomen a little bit. When I bring it across. I actually just feel more kind of outer hamstring stretch on the lifted leg, which is interesting too. All right, leave that foot up there. Bring the other foot up. It takes the place of the first foot. And that first foot comes down, heel down. Notice that my lifted leg, the knee is slightly bent. It might be more bent if you're tight. Relax the shoulders, the jaw. You could stay right here. You don't have to do anything else. Or wag that leg here with the strap. Slowly, gently, and just exploring what you feel in both legs when you change the angle here. Opening up these hip flexors, because a lot of the core work we do, especially on the back, certainly that last one, the boat pose, integrates hip flexors with abdominal strength, which is a very natural way to use the core. And in fact, we use it that way in as we enter into the finish of the stroke and as we come out of the finish. The core, the rectus abdominis, the six pack, and your hip flexors are working in conjunction with each other. So giving them a little bit of a break here. All right, we'll put that foot down. Take the block out from underneath you. Pull the legs in, maybe gentle hug in, straight in, or a happy baby, knees out wide, rocking gently, backs of thighs, or holding ankles or soles of feet. Decide if there's something you'd like to do before we come into relaxation. Maybe it's a stretch or like a twist here. Eventually finding your way to a resting position. Take an inhale through the nose. Open the mouth, let out a sigh. And you could do another like that. Let the breath go. Allow yourself to rest for the next few minutes. Remember, you could stay here longer, resting more. If you're ready, move on. Start to deepen the breath. Invite some gentle movements, wiggling the fingers, the toes, wrists, the ankles. Maybe you take a full body, like good morning stretch, arms overhead, legs out. Inhale, lengthen, maybe through one side and then the other. Exhale, let it go. Bend the knees, roll to your side. Pause for a moment here. Thanking your body, your breath, your health, your yoga practice. And gentle pressing up to a seated position. Thank you all for being here, sharing your practice and your energy. The light in me honors the light in each of you. Namaste.